I'm glad you called that out. She's not a dick destroyer. She's not joining the
No,
team.
that's so true. That's
lawful
what
good.
makes her lawful good.
Welcome to Inchworm,
The podcast in which we're inching through Worm. I'm Jenny.
and I'm Ted.
We read Sentinel 9.2.
Flechette's Interlude.
As I predicted by seeing the first word of the chapter.
Yeah,
it is
pretty
Flechette's
clever.
Interlude.
Pretty clever.
Yeah, diabolical. Yeah, so I continue to expect that we're going to get all of the wards in this.
Yeah, that prediction
arc.
is panning out. We'll see where it goes.
2 out of 6, we'll see.
Yeah, you've got a
right
sentence
number.
fragment to give you a clue on the next one. We'll see if it also
I
just
haven't read
starts
that
out,
one yet.
Clock blocker, lean back, whatever.
Could be.
Well, what about this chapter? How did you feel about it?
I think we have our first strongly implied canon queer character.
That is true. She's super gay. I love it.
Thank you for confirming that it's not just implied, but in fact, held to be true.
It's funny because I was reading it and I was like, oh, like there are definitely hints in here about Flechette's sexuality. And then by the end, I'm like,
to the end,
yeah, this
like,
is not subtle. This is not subtle. I don't think it's a spoiler. This is heavily implied by the text.
Yes.
And I think we will cover it, how it is all revealed to people.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah. Would you like to hear what happened in the chapter?
I would love to.
Okay, so we start. Flechette is catching up to Shadow Stalker while Shadow Stalker is on patrol. It seems like Flechette has just gotten to Brockton Bay and hasn't even met Shadow Stalker yet. Shadow Stalker shoots at her, which it seems is just, someone snuck up on her and Shadow Stalker's a little jumpy and Flechette is like, whoa, you almost killed me. And Shadow Stalker's like, no, it's just a tranquilizer bolt. And she shows it's like Tinker-made probably. It's like a special glass bolt with like a thing to keep it from going in too deep. It's like very, very nicely designed to knock people out but not seriously hurt them. And Flechette's like, okay, no, I get it. You're twitchy. Yeah, I accept your apology. And they introduce each other. Shadow Stalker seems amenable to Flechette. She's like, I don't do teams. I don't do backup. But, happy to hang out with another crossbow aficionado.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Flechette, it seems like, doesn't know anyone's name. She's like the brown-haired guy at the computer. Like, what? She didn't even introduce herself to him. Like, I guess. Said that Shadow Stalker would be in this area. So Flechette, just arrived and is out there. And Shadow Stalker proposes that she go ahead because she is very stealthy and Flechette can follow. And Shadow Stalker kind of doesn't exactly fly, but gravity doesn't fully apply to her in her shadowy state. Mm-hmm. And Flechette can also travel across rooftops using a grappling hook that she kind of charges bolts with her power. We learn a little bit more about the classifications, a couple of them that we saw last chapter. So breaker capes apparently break the laws of the universe as applied to themselves. So that is what Shadow Stalker is, and, Scion also. And striker capes, like Flechette, can apply some kind of effect by touch or at point-blank range. And her effect is sort of a breaker-ish effect, but not on herself, so she's not a breaker. She can make her weapons defy the laws of physics, defy gravity, friction, all of that stuff. So we get kind of a cool close-up of her using her arbalest, which is what she shoots with. Mm-hmm. Basically, she can make her ammunition punch through anything, she says, and she can also time when the effect is going to turn off when she's originally touching it. If she times it right, she can make the things stick in place wherever she wants. So she flies across the rooftops, uses her crossbow and does some walking on chains and stuff. She can also affect the cleats on her shoes so she can walk up walls a little bit. She's working really hard because she wants to impress Shadow Stalker. Mm-hmm. And we get a little bit of her motivation. She says Shadow Stalker is the only girl of approximately her own age on the wards right now. And she says, doing double shifts of patrol, all the day-to-day stuff, would drain the life out of her if she had no friends to do it with, if she had no conversation and camaraderie. So she's trying to impress Shadow Stalker. She's having a tough time because the buildings here aren't as well laid out for this kind of thing as the buildings in New York. It's a more jarring skyline. We've seen some of that before with, like, the buildings are kind of mismatched. So she's struggling, but she catches up to Shadow Stalker. And Shadow Stalker has stopped because there is a woman surrounded by a circle of men who are kind of backing her up against the wall. And Flechette's like, why haven't you done anything yet? Shadow Stalker says, it's better in these situations if you can wait to intervene until there's actually a crime happening.
Yeah.
And Flechette's like, but then a crime does start happening. One of the men grabs the woman, so Shadow Stalker does intervene. And Flechette's like, you only really need to do that if you're going to be violent. Why would you do that when you have the tranquilizer bolts? And also, she's like, Shadow Stalker didn't even inform command. So Flechette calls it in and lets, I guess, Kid Win know that this is happening.
Yeah, the brown-haired guy on the console.
Yeah, you know.
That guy.
So Shadow Stalker is fighting. We get to see some interesting stuff. She shoots a man with a tranquilizer bolt, but then shatters the bolt with her hand, or her elbow actually, so that it inflicts a bunch of physical damage on him from the shattered glass. Wild. We can talk about all this. She's, taking down a bunch of other people. Flechette enters the fight, clotheslines someone, and pins someone else to the wall by, shooting a bolt through his clothing and pinning him to the wall. And Shadow Stalker's doing a lot of hand-to-hand where she shifts back and forth between her shadow self and her solid physical self strategically, clearly has been doing a lot of training, is very physically adept in this. I really got to wonder about the track team. We could talk about it. Is she fully solid while she's on that track team? Anyway, so she does take all of them down, basically, catches the people who are trying to run away. Shadow Stalker throws her, a restraint device, and Flechette kind of ties a couple of the men to a pole, manages to rig them up so that if they tried to cut through the restraint, they would fall, and the device itself will summon the PRT, nearby teams, because the capes here are supposed to keep patrolling. They aren't supposed to wait around for teams to come get them. But Flechette is a little bit turned off by the fight. She's like, that was really violent. This girl is a little too comfortable with violence for my tastes, was her take. But Shadow Stalker does make sure no one's bleeding out, no one's drowning. And Flechette is restraining one of the other people, I think the guy she clotheslined, when that guy is hit by a trash can lid. And the woman who was being cornered is just wailing on him with this lid. And Flechette's like, oh, hey, no, stop, and is about to stop her. But Shadow Stalker keeps Flechette from doing it, grabs Flechette's wrist and is like, no, let her do it. It'll help her get over it faster. They deserve it. And Flechette's like, no, that is not right. And does stop the woman. And the woman is like, these people hurt my daughter. She doesn't get into specifics. Apparently this happened last week, and she's just furious, and she wants to beat this guy up, potentially kill him. I mean, I don't know that she's murderous in intent, but Flechette seems to think that this woman could kill this guy. And Flechette does keep her from hurting the guy anymore. She can't restrain the woman. The woman is stronger than she is. Flechette's only 17, and this isn't really a situation where she's using her power to take the woman out.
Yeah.
And gets the woman to kind of go away. And then Flechette's like, Shadow Stalker, thanks for the backup. And Shadow Stalker's like, yeah, I don't do backup.
I don't do backup.
Except for Emma and Madison, I guess. Actually, we should talk about that. But yeah, so she's basically saying these guys deserved it. And when Flechette's like, that's not your call to make, Shadow Stalker's like, yes, it is. We are cop, judge, jury, and sometimes executioner, because we're the ones with the power. And Flechette's like, no, that's wrong. So they split up. And Shadow Stalker's like, whatever, I don't even want to be on a team. I'm only on this team because I have to be. I'd rather patrol alone. And Flechette's like, okay, well, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, but this is not going well. So she calls into headquarters, talks to Kid Win, who introduces himself over the earpiece, so we do get to know that it's him. And she kind of alludes to the fact that she's splitting off from Shadow Stalker, and Kid Win's like, ooh, yeah, sorry, I should have warned you. And so Flechette's like, okay, so this is a known thing. She's always like this. Yeah. And Shadow Stalker asks about Parian, the cape we saw, or the rogue we saw, who can manipulate stuffed animals, like big sewing needles, that stuff. And Flechette had met her prior to the Leviathan attack, and Kidwin directs her towards where he thinks Parian is staying. Apparently Vista ran into her recently. And Flechette heads over to there, to the big lake, the crater in the downtown, and, a bunch of kind of semi-destroyed buildings around it. And she reaches a place where there's a yellow line across the ground. And she goes to cross it and meets resistance. There's like some kind of string, and then a huge stuffed animal gorilla doesn't attack her, confronts her, I would say. And Parian is there saying, stay back. This is my territory. My friends and family and I get to stay here and get our share of food and water in exchange for me keeping people out. And Flechette's like, oh yeah, we met before the Leviathan attack. I'm a hero. And Parian's like, you still can't come in. And Flechette's like, but I'm a hero. And they sort of reach detente where Flechette's like, fine, I won't come in. But she offers her card to Parian and says, if you need anything, you can call on me. Apparently phone lines are down, but cell phones still work. And then asks, like, do you need anything right now? And, like, I don't know the state of things, but I could see if I can get you something. And Parian says they need fresh water. And then they start chatting. It seems like Parian is kind of shaking, and she admits that she really hates confrontation. Even thinking she might have to fight someone is just making her edgy, as she says. And she admits that she's really afraid that someone's going to break in and she won't be able to stop them. And Flechette offers, like, well, you have my card. You can call me for backup. I might not be able to be there immediately, but the ward's headquarters are nearby. And they introduce themselves. Flechette gives the name Flechette, and Parian starts giving her real name and then groans. And it's like clear she's not used to the whole cape name thing. And in response, Flechette takes her mask off and gives her real name, which is Lily. And Parian does the same. Her name is Saba. And Flechette gets to see her face and is like, cute. Funny to think she's older than me. So we had seen her admiring Shadow Stalker's figure earlier. This was like a sort of clearer indication. And then she invites Saba to go on a patrol of her territory, Saba's territory, with her. And it's like, I'll stay outside the line if you want to like walk together. And there's like a little gesture that Parian makes while she's like leaning forward on the gorilla that is apparently very thrilling to Flechette.
Yeah. Adjusting her skirt to stay modest.
Yes. Flechette felt as much of a rush watching that as she did running across her chain/tightrope with a 5-story drop below her. So very clear sapphic vibes. So they walk together, and Flechette is very relieved because now, even if she can't make a connection with someone on her team, she's made a connection with someone, which means she'll be able to make it through the few weeks, couple months, whatever, how long her stay will be. So, yeah. So we leave them making conversation. Yeah.
Well, there we have it.
Really, the sapphic stuff was really interesting to me because there was clearly attraction there, but it seemed to be coupled with, like, very closely to the desire for friendship and connection in a way that felt very distinctive to her character. Like, I don't think it's necessarily how every woman who's attracted to women would think about that kind of thing, where she's like, no, I need to make a connection to someone to like survive my time here. And it seems to be that she's thinking of a friendship connection when she thinks of it at the beginning.
Right.
But she specifically wants that friendship connection to be with a girl.
Right.
Which isn't unusual, especially among younger people, being like, oh no, I need to make a friend with a person my own gender. Like, that's just an easier connection or something.
Yeah.
And especially girls, I feel like, tend to think that way. Maybe that's not true. I don't know. But then that felt like it was being conflated a little bit with her attraction to girls. So I wasn't sure if she felt like she needed a romantic connection to like be happy here for 2 months, or if it's just sort of like she has the romantic interest piece, but really she needs the friendship connection.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot respond as a woman or a queer person in this moment. I do wonder, based on when this was written and this chapter, and sort of assuming default 2010, 2011, US or Canadian culture, like, it doesn't seem like she's out. So I wouldn't be surprised. Like, she seems aware of her own sexuality. I wouldn't be surprised. I've heard from people, you have super intense crushes on your friends, in elementary school or in middle school.
Oh,
and
maybe she doesn't know.
Maybe, but like I read it as she knows, but like I do wonder if that's been part of her recent history. Is she forms these super close attachments to people, and now she's realizing that might not be reciprocated. The other thing I'll point out here is it's not like she shows up in Brockton Bay and she's like, I need to find a girl to crush on.
Yeah.
She actually very quickly, her first night out, tries to reconnect with two girls that she already met.
That's true.
She met them a month ago. She probably hit it off to some extent with both Shadow Stalker and Parian.
Yeah.
And, felt like there was something there. And so to me, that's like a little bit less like I'm just looking for, a girl to smooch motive. And more like, well, I made these connections and let's see where it goes. And then realizing like, oh my God, she's pretty, like kind of in the moment. But it's an interesting thing to observe and think about.
I also was just really struck by how deliberate she is about like, I need an interpersonal connection in order to be okay here. Like that felt like knowing yourself to a really high degree, or maybe just being strategic about it, because I think it's pretty normal for a teenager to go into a situation and be like, can I make friends here? Who am I going to sit with at lunch? But this idea of like, okay, let's go in, let's make sure to make a friend, like that, it just felt very deliberate about it in a way that was unusual.
And it felt a little desperate to me. And I do wonder, right? So did she leave a bunch of friends in New York, or does she not have close friends in New York? And this is kind of like a chance, to start over. Like, does she know, like, oh, well, I never really got close to people in New York and I am really struggling all the time there. And, like, I just need to, I need my bestie. Or maybe she has a bestie back in New York who she knows she's going to miss. I'm very curious where she's coming from with this desperate need for friendship.
It feels to me like someone who probably has had a lot of good friendships, or at least has had a lot of friendships that filled this sort of basic need for connection.
Yeah.
But has had times when she has not had those and has really suffered for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be, right, we don't get necessarily, I feel like maybe I have some like meta-textual guesses as to like what her trigger event might be. But I do wonder if like deep loneliness or something could be the kind of trauma she has in her past. And I don't know exactly how that would get her to where she is today. But, there's definitely some unexplored stuff in Flechette that it doesn't come up in this chapter because it's, it's as much about the other two women as it is about Flechette.
Right. And it doesn't, we don't really get into much about her life in New York or her history or anything like that.
Yeah.
I feel like when we get to Shadow Stalker, I'm not going to be satisfied.
Not satisfied in what way?
I'm not going to know about Emma and Madison.
Well, maybe there's enough to know about Sophia herself.
Maybe.
There are a couple of other, like, Flechette's personality moments. Like, there's the bit where she's, like, calls herself out on getting distracted and tired, which, she sort of thinks to herself about wanting to change her name and then has to snap back into focus. So that, again, suggests that, like, she doesn't seem panicked or agitated, but I wonder if there's a little bit more, like, she's so desperate to, like, keep up with Sophia and like impress her and make a good impression. There's like this need, like, oh, I have to be on target. I have to be,
But it's funny, she was also very self-possessed when it came to like knowing what she believes and what she, thinks should be done.
Yes.
So it was like a good, level-headed balance of like, I want to impress this person, but like, okay, no, I'm not going with her on this because I disagree with her on this.
It was nice. I appreciated, I don't know if we have more to say about Lily, but I appreciated that there was no dramatic irony about who Sophia is, right? Like, she's like, yellow flags, red flag. Okay, 3 strikes. And she's always like this? All right.
Yeah.
Like, she really gives her the benefit of the doubt several times. But by the end of the chapter, it's like, Flechette's pretty much on board with Sophia Suggs.
It was really interesting. They come at the violence and come at the town with 2 very different philosophies.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big part of it that's just who they are. Like, Flechette seems very lawful good. I liked her a lot.
Yes.
Seems great.
Yes.
And Sophia is chaotic, neutral to evil, I would say.
Yeah. I'm comfortable saying evil. We can talk about why, but Flechette is also, she's lawful good, but the kind of lawful good that's like, she's never at all had any reason to question
that's
her beliefs.
the thing. So that's
right?
the other piece. Part of it's just who they are. And another part of it is that Flechette, despite the fact that she's been patrolling, and she's been in the wards, it seems like, for a few years at least, has some experience there, but she doesn't have experience in the kind of situation that Brockton Bay is in right now. And Sophia, as we've seen, has been patrolling and has been on the front lines of this and has, who knows what she's been through. It's clearly been a lot, even maybe before this Leviathan thing. Yeah. But she is bringing with her practicality and a level of experience that Flechette can't match.
Right.
So Flechette is coming off a little bit naive, even while I think there's probably a lot that I would agree with her on, even in light of that.
Right.
She doesn't have the experience to temper that with, okay, but we need to compromise in these ways.
Right. And we have the other element of the alignment spectrum here in Perrin, who represents neutral, right? She's
100% neutral.
She's like, this is my territory. I have a job, which is to keep all other capes out.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're a hero, right? Like, you stay on the other side of the line. And Flechette assesses, I would definitely beat her in a fight. I think she knows that, but she cares. She has enough integrity and cares enough, or she's desperate enough that she knows she has to fight if Flechette crosses the line. And
she's showing courage. Yeah, you're right. They are a perfect tic-tac-toe on the alignment chart.
Yeah.
If we go lawful, good, neutral, chaotic, evil.
Right. Well, and it's, obviously Flechette and Shadow Stalker are both quote unquote heroes, right? But just in terms of their personalities and, the way they're approaching the situation. I also liked, so Weld was an outsider character. Flechette's another outsider. I really liked in the chase sequence where Sophia's like, we can hang, but see if you can keep up. And then she just does this amazing move where she runs up a building in her shadow state. And Flechette, we get a lot of procedural detail about how she goes up and down over the rooftops. And it's very cool. She has like a Legolas moment where she slides down the chain. But we get all the detail about how she doesn't fall off and how if she does fall off, she has a backup so that she won't fall to her death, because that's not something she can survive. But it's very, very cool. And she thinks I'm just so unfamiliar with the city. And again, it's she's an outsider to Brockton Bay. So the skyline itself is making it hard for her to keep up. It leaves her panting at the end. Whereas Sophia's no problem. Right. It's a very fun, literally the city is unfriendly to outsiders. And it's weird hodgepodge architecture.
Yeah. Yeah. The way that, Sophia basically embodies in this everything we've been talking about with, it is a problem to give heroes this much power.
Oh, yeah.
And we've talked about it a lot specifically with Sophia, because we saw her at that mall scene where she just had this power despite being another teenage girl who her only qualification was having had a trigger event. And then, being conscripted into the wards, she didn't even get a choice.
Yeah.
As she says, she's only on this team because she has to be.
Yeah.
And she puts it into words. She's like, we are cop, judge, jury, and sometimes executioner.
Yeah.
And Flechette, very correctly, is like, no, that's wrong.
Well, it's right and it's wrong. It's correct descriptively, right?
Yes,
I would argue
true.
that...
Factually correct.
I would argue that the sort of Pigo was hey, we're just trying to placate people with this hero narrative. You don't need to worry about the powerful people among you, right? This is what we're trying to do to be pro-social, right? Mm-hmm. And Sophia sees through that to the truth as far as she understands it, which is that the capes have the power and it's up to them, right? Flechette doesn't even see that she could choose to be another way, right? That's her personality or whatever. Yeah. But I would argue that, Sophia is right descriptively, but not morally or normatively, right?
You know what's interesting? She has this whole thing, we have the power, therefore. And she does. She has the power. And yet she felt threatened by Taylor on that scene, with the bus where Taylor was kind of taunting her. And she felt the need to beat Taylor up. She somehow doesn't feel secure in having the power, or somehow she needs to defend it, pump herself up. She isn't just haha, I have a superpower and she doesn't, so whatever. She thinks she's getting one over on me. No, she has to beat Taylor up about that.
Right.
Which, yeah, she has like a power complex, basically.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up. It is a really good insight into how she's acted previously. Because what she says here is, better we give her another few swings than render her powerless for the second time tonight, or she won't get over it for a long time.
That's got to be something from her past.
Yeah.
Her trigger event.
And that's why, right, like, that's basically what happens. She sees Taylor, you know, basically be like, hey, I got this cute guy. And then she's like, that made her feel bad. And then immediately she follows Taylor to a place where she can beat her up and and she says to her, you are scum and I am awesome.
Yeah.
And this is how it should be, right? Like the fact that she's so insecure that she needed to do that comes up again here. And it's interesting because it also makes me think about how Taylor's learned response to the trio is absolutely like pushing this button for Sophia over and over again, because Taylor's like, if we could have a boy fight, then we could just like, you know, leave this alone or whatever. But from Sophia's perspective, it seems like she would respect Taylor more if Taylor fought back. Yeah. You know, which she does in that, you know, the last time that they met each other, Sophia and Taylor. And I don't know for sure that Taylor never tried to fight Sophia, but it was really interesting. This, like, you know...
She probably did never try to fight her. Like, yeah, it's especially because when it started, she was like, but this is my best friend who maybe isn't really speaking to me right now, but what's going on? And by the time she saw how bad it was, she probably was able to realize with her very strategic brain, right. I will not win a fight.
Yeah, but Taylor's rational passivity has reinforced this for
and it might be part of the reason why Sophia is so intent on bullying her.
Yeah,
if she despises this rational passivity.
Yeah, and it's something that she sees in herself, or that she would be afraid to see in herself.
And something that I assume she saw in herself in her trigger event.
Yeah. Like
that's got to be, right? Like something bad happened to her and Madison and Emma where she wasn't able to fight back, and it took her a while to get over it, / she still hasn't gotten over it. Yeah. And that's why she knows. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. There was another aspect of their confrontation that made me think about where Sophia's coming from. When Flechette is struggling with the woman, Sophia's willing to say, no, she's right, we should let her hit him, but she doesn't intervene directly.
True.
She says, like, you know, honestly, I'm on her side, to be honest. And, you know, like, I'm not going to help you, Flechette, but I'm not going to stop you, right? Like, right. And I feel like this reminds me a little bit, like, of when she's waiting on the rooftop, right, for her moment to strike. She's evaluating and judging, but she's only taking the action that suits her, right, that she wants to take. She doesn't have any need to, like, intervene for some principle or something, right? Like, also. Yeah, and, you know, Flechette mentions, like, oh, I was late catching up to you because I had to stop these kids breaking into a display window. Like, Sophia would ignore that. She definitely wouldn't,
That's
like,
true,
that kind of crime. Yeah. It doesn't justify any violence. So why, you know, she doesn't care, right? She probably just moves past it, right? But in this moment, she's also...
is not priority here.
She, like, maybe she just recognizes Flechette enough as an equal that she's, like, not interested in proving anything over her. She's like, oh, well, I disagree with you about what you're doing with this woman, but I'm not going to, you know, there's nothing at stake here for me, right? Like, so I wonder, this non-interventionist policy, right, when she is in her shadow state, right, stuff can just pass through her. Can just pass by her, right? Like, she doesn't have to let the world affect her. And so I wonder if there's some kind of connection there with, like, her trying to be at a remove from the situation around her unless she chooses to engage with it.
I feel like what those things have in common, like, if she saw the kids breaking into the store, she probably wouldn't intervene, and she doesn't actually actively stop Flechette from, you know, facing off against this woman. They just aren't things that really affect her. Like, she just doesn't have a stake in those. Whereas, like, she sees Taylor taunting her, and she's like, I need to beat her up. Like, I think if it's a direct attack on her, she will fight back. But I bet she also is rational enough with stuff like within the wards. Like, she's not gonna fight another ward. Like, she understands her position. It's like, this is what I have to do. this is like, these are the hoops I have to jump through. I have to be on the wards. I can't antagonize the other wards super actively.
Yeah,
like, she's not going to pull a bitch when Taylor joins the team and start a dominance fight. Like, that wouldn't fly in the wards. And, you know, she doesn't want to get kicked off and sent to jail or whatever. So
And yeah, that just is reminding me, right, going back to Sophia in the principal's office. Mm-hmm. She says nothing, right? She's there. She's silent. She's with her PRT handler, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
She's feeling powerless, right? Like, that's also contributing to her retaliation.
That's why she needed to beat up Taylor,
Right. It's not, the Brian thing was a little extra in the moment.
Yes,
but, like,
but that's
probably if they just run into each other, Sophia's already looking for
right.
revenge.
Right. Taylor hadn't been back to school, so.
Yeah. And I'm also remembering after the bookshop fight, Sophia's very quick on her feet to, like, lie and BS, both to Brian and to the bookstore owner. So, like, when Flechette starts calling her on stuff here, she's very quick with, like, oh yeah, these things go better if you wait. Or, like, you know, like it's unclear to me. Is that even
her true philosophy?
Right, how much of this is Sophia being like, I'm going to be real with Flechette to show how much of an edgy badass I am. And just like, this is enough cover. This is enough cover to justify my actions. Like, whatever, I'll just say this. But, like, I don't really care if it's true. You know, it's just, this is the kind of thing Flechette wants to hear.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. You know, I wonder, I don't know how much ammo she has. I don't remember how many guys were there, like 9 or something.
I don't remember. It is.
Could she just have stayed on the rooftop and shot them all?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's probably what Flechette expected her to do. Because
Yes.
she had the tranquilizer bullets. She's like, why would you intervene violently?
Yes.
But...
Or just fly down there and with a crossbow and be like, I'm going to shoot you. Go away. Right? Like, that's another way you could play it.
That's so true. I want to talk about her and Emma and Madison now that we've seen how much she doesn't like being part of a team. She doesn't do backup. She doesn't want to be part of the wars. She says she likes being alone. As you have just said, she's not a truthful person. I don't know how much it is that she really just is a loner and wants to be alone versus she doesn't trust these people. It takes a lot to get within her circle of trust, and once you do, then she does want backup.
Yeah.
But just knowing like, oh, you're another hero is not enough to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe just like Emma and Madison have crossed over into that for her.
Yeah,
but it does seem like she is not in charge of the bullies. And it's surprising to me that that is, like, I don't know that Emma's in charge either, but it seems like from what we've seen, those are kind of the two dominant ones.
Yeah.
Unless Madison's just mind controlling them both.
Right. I will speak up for just Madison's kind of a dumbass. It's just like, I feel like we haven't seen a lot of like Madison-Sophia interaction.
No.
And sort of, you know, in kind of a Heather situation. Sometimes there's just a Heather who's the weakest of the bunch.
Yes.
Right. You know, like
but
that,
it doesn't
that can
seem
be...
like Sophia is the strongest Heather. It doesn't necessarily seem like Emma is either, but...
Right. Yeah. Emma definitely seems socially like the ringleader. Sophia seemed like the sort of tactician and most evil bully, or, you know, most vicious, you know, one of them. But yeah, it is interesting. I would also just offer that Kidwin is like, yeah, she's always like that. Like it sort of feels like it seems like they've found a steady state based on Weld seeing Clockblocker and Shadow Stalker and Kidwin and Vista all talking, right? Like, it's not like you can't work with her. It seems like she's less difficult than Bitch, as you were saying.
Yes.
But it's the sort of like, I get the impression that
she's the broken stare.
Exactly. It's that she does stuff like she's doing with Flechette right now enough. She knows how to push you to the line so that you will leave her alone, leave her to operate solo, like kind of do what you want without breaking the bounds of, you know, something that Pigo might notice or whatever. I will say, seeing Shadow Stalker fight is very cool.
Yeah.
And she's very competent.
Yes.
Despite being evil.
Well, those aren't in conflict.
The thing where she runs up the side of the building is cool. When she decides to intervene, she sort of like glides and hops down to the ground level. It reminds me of illusory Mima from Perfect Blue when she's like hopping along, you know, chasing the real Mima, right? Like, I feel like that's how Shadow Stalker moves in my head.
Yes.
Just like gently gliding around. And then in the actual combat, like, there's this moment when she just did some like martial arts move and then she stands up and like unholsters her stuff while in her shadow state, and like people are just like punching her from every side and swinging stuff at her, and it just goes through her. She's totally unbothered. It's like I can picture it.
Yeah.
And you know, like, she makes herself light so she can do like a cool backflip and then land with her full weight on somebody. It's so satisfying that like there is so much detail paid to how her specific power makes her a cool badass martial artist superhero that you see in like, you know, like a Marvel movie or whatever, right? Like it just makes sense. Shadow Stalker has the kind of power that lets you do that. Like messing with your body weight and being able to go slightly incorporeal makes you an awesome martial artist.
I feel like there's also a really good metaphor there, and you were getting at it, and I kind of took us in a different direction when you brought it up, but like this thing where she sometimes is like cool and doesn't let things bother her, and then she sometimes chooses to engage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We also get...
Oh, you know what kind of trigger event that is? That's dissociation. That's someone who's doing something to you and you have to dissociate from it. Not necessarily, but I think that would be a really good trigger for this.
Yeah. And that fits with the you have to let them fight back or it'll be with them for a long time.
Right, because she instead had to dissociate. Yeah. Didn't get a chance to fight back.
Yeah. Can we talk about the woman?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I just loved this whole anecdote. Like we've talked about it from what it says about Sophia and her philosophy, but like the woman shouts, "Fuckers like this hurt my daughter."
Yeah.
Right? And she was just being assaulted, right, by them, right? It's like, it's so sympathetic.
Oh, yeah.
And also like so misdirected. It reminds me of like, I feel like I have come to think about like a desire for revenge as something that is always good. It always like feels good. It's a moral good. Everybody wants it like at a deep level, but it's never right. Like it's never really justified. You know, you need justice to come from some other bigger, more pro-social purpose. And I feel like in this is another restatement of that philosophy that like, yeah, the power of retributive violence, it's good. Like, I want to see her hit this guy in the head with a trash can lid. Like, I know that he sucks, and, like, I want to see that violence dealt. But I also agree with Flechette that, like, this is not the way. Like, let me restrain him. Like, the police are coming, like...
And it's such a good illustration of what's going on in Brockton Bay right now, where people have been pushed to this extent, like you were saying, Hugo was acknowledging last chapter. And so, of course, like, you have so much sympathy for this woman and what she's been through, and you're like, yeah, of course she wants this. And you also recognize, like you just said, well, this isn't really going to help anything. These men are already being arrested. And that just is so representative of how the people of Brockton Bay don't have any good outlets for their energies right now.
Yeah.
There's so many people who are so desperate, and the systems and the mechanisms are just not in place. Everything's broken.
Yeah. And honestly, I'd be curious to hear from like someone who knows a lot more about trauma than I do, if there's anything psychologically to the idea of like a little bit of violence goes a long way towards healing. But
I would be very interested to know. Yeah.
Yeah. But it connects back to what Pico was saying about the sympathetic view of the people of the Bay. It's just like, what do you expect? Because it sucks so bad. Right.
Yeah.
And, right. There was no justice.
To her daughter. Yeah.
Right. Well, and men like them, right? Like it
might have been the same men.
Fuckers like this is what she says. This. Yeah. So that's part of why it's misdirected, right? Like it's.
I was assuming it was like the same gang of men.
Me too. Yeah.
But you might be right.
So I feel like that muddies the waters a little bit more. But yeah, so just this idea of like, it's, I feel like her feeling is so righteous, even though, I like Flechette. I'm a little horrified by it. And the other moment I really like is, maybe this just says more about Lily, but like, not entirely to the woman. She spoke, "You're better than this. You have to be." And that's so fascinating. Like, does Flechette need to believe that people are good to fight to save them? Like, what is at stake for her in this,
that's
like,
such a good point.
"You're better than this. You have to be." Because... like, the way that I think about it in the real world is like, a lot of people suck a lot of the time. And that doesn't mean that, like, they shouldn't have rights and they shouldn't be able to live great lives, right? Like, like, sort of like the job of being a hero is like, no matter how shitty people are, like, you're kind of on their side. You're, like, choosing to be pro-humanity, right?
That's better than how I interpreted it, which was, is she saying that to herself because that's something she has to remind herself of? And I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think she has such a strong moral code and, like you said, hasn't had to question it. She probably doesn't need to say
But that's
that to
also
herself.
right. If you've been living on Lawful Good Easy Street and you're suddenly like, I'm fighting for the people because they're oppressed by the bad criminals. And then you're like, wait, this lady kind of sucks.
Right,
like, how much is
right.
that going to stay with her?
Yeah.
Right. If you're, there may be a more healthy way to pull the wool from someone's eyes than to throw them into the streets of Brockton Bay.
One thing that I noticed that's a little bit ironic. So you have Sophia saying like, I mean, we have the power, so we're all of the powerful positions. We can just do that. That's fine. And Flechette is like, no, that's not how it works. And then the person that she seeks out and offers to help is someone else who has a power, who has a superpower. Like she offers her card to Parian. She says, is there anything you all need right now? Presumably she isn't offering that to everyone she sees. And like you said, she and Parian had already connected. And just having something in common with someone is something that's going to make you want to reach out, form a connection.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, she is giving her special treatment because she is a parahuman. A cape? Is she not a cape if she's a rogue? I'm not sure how that works.
I'd call them all capes. And heroes, villains, and rogues. I think that's a really good point, because my initial read on it was almost the opposite, which is this is good neighborhood social work or police work, right?
It's
like,
true.
We both live here, we need stuff, let's be in touch, there's only so many of us, You're right, though, she is kind of bragging like, hey, I've got access to the fresh water, I'll hook you up, and also you're cute.
Well, she's flirting, so
Yeah, but and Flechette has this confidence that she can work the system and be like, well, all I have to do is say, hey, Pigo, I'm a hero, get water to Saba and her crew. But you're right, it is what Sophia was saying about having power. It's like, by the grace of Flechette go Saba and the people she's protecting.
Right, and by the grace of Saba's power goes, Flechette's aid. Like, if Flechette didn't have a power, she wouldn't be talking to her right now. I mean, I could also imagine a scenario in which she finds the people who are in charge of various, shelters, areas, and says, like, what do you need? But this is clearly you're a fellow cape. We're going to connect over this. And I can pull strings for you.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to say it's still good, right? Like,
I don't think it's like deeply evil or anything. Right, there's just like a little bit of like, ooh, it still affects even Flechette.
Right. To one extreme, you have Sophia being like, I'm judge, jury, and executioner, and I'm evil. And at the other extreme, you sort of have like, I'm like, a big bureaucratic, like, sort of insurance company that's like, well, I've figured out the maximal way to distribute aid that's like most, but like, as we know from the real world, those systems are so inhuman in the way that they actually meet reality, right? Reality is so complex if you don't have people connecting those dots, even if it's sort of inefficient in some idealized way, right? You're not gonna do well. So like, I feel like there is a good role for a social worker like Lily making this connection and being like, look, this is how we're going to get the needs met without it crossing the line towards being biased. Even though, of course, it
struck me as just a little bit ironic. Yeah.
No, but I think it's in the text, right? Like that's kind of what, it's part of her naivete is that she doesn't see the irony herself, right? Right. And I think it's good that we're calling attention to it.
Yeah, and it's so funny. She has not at all imbibed the lesson that Taylor has taken so strongly at this point of like, saying you're a hero doesn't mean anything.
No, it's so funny when she's like, but I'm a hero.
No, like she said, so she's like, no, I'm a hero. I can give you ID.
It's again, like she's from the same YA other series that Weld is. Right?
Yes.
Like,
absolutely.
they're
they're friends. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I hope Weld is doing a little better with the team. Though maybe it's the same day.
I think it's the same night.
Yeah, you're right. Because
Kid went on the console, Shadow Stalker out on patrol.
At least Weld has an ally now.
Yeah.
We'll see. I was thinking when Flechette was like, Shadow Stalker didn't even call into command. Like, oh no. And she's intervening, like, she's waiting for there to be violence to intervene. Why does she need to intervene violently? I was like, there's going to be such a culture clash between these wards and these two outsiders.
Yeah.
Which I think might still be true. But then Kidwin was like, oh, I should have warned you. Yeah, she's problematic. I was like, oh, okay, some of this might just be Shadow Stalker. So it might be that the others would have called in before this kind of thing. And Shadow Stalker just doesn't. So there's probably some of both.
I I love how much Sophia's existence has completely poisoned the well for you with the other wards.
Well, no, at first I was like, oh, this is going to be a culture clash between the groups. Yeah. And then Kid Win said his piece, and I was like, maybe it's just Sophia.
Yeah. Yeah, the piece about that first fight that I wanted to say, right? The fighting dirty is like so awful and horrifying, but it's so vividly described, right? Like the thing where she tranquilizes the guy and then just shreds it into glass into his neck is like...
Why?
Well,
why?
Because she wants to, right? And it's like they don't want me to use lethal weaponry. I'm going to use non-lethal weaponry, but oops, it broke. Oh, I couldn't help it. He fell on the tranquilizer and it broke in his neck. Oh no, right? Like,
but she also does it right in front of Flechette, which is so bold.
Yeah, but right, it's like,
and
it's
it seems like she's done it in front of Gru. You know, I mean, well, he's a villain, but you know, Gru is like
that is interesting. Like, is if Flechette did try to push it on this, like she was using excessive force, like would Shadow Stalker just lie? She'd probably just lie. She'd probably just be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, she's a very good liar. And she doesn't probably care about... It's not like Flechette is like in a huge position of power here.
Yeah. Flechette also does not see Sophia for who she is. Like, she's horrified by her, but she's still being very charitable. I want to read this passage. At this point, Shadow Stalker has her fingers in a guy's mouth, like yanking him around by the jaw. He screamed, crumpled toward the ground, his hands moving to where the strike had hit. Shadow Stalker waited a moment before letting go, forcing him to twist and squeal in agony before she let him finish collapsing. After watching him a moment, perhaps to be sure he wouldn't retaliate, Shadow Stalker glanced at Flechette. This is sadism.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm watching this guy, you know, suffer pain that I have inflicted. And Sophia is like eating it up. And Flechette is like, that might have been tactically sound.
Right, she's very much giving her the benefit of the doubt, which I think also speaks to her inexperience. Like, she probably hasn't encountered a lot of heroes like this, or any heroes like this. It does make me wonder how many heroes are like Shadow Stalker.
Yeah.
Like, there's sort of the, you know, one bad apple poisons the barrel idea.
Yeah.
But also, like, how much is she an exception? How much is Armsmaster an exception?
Right.
I don't know. Taylor is judging the Protectorate and the wards based on them, and that's what she's seen of them, and that's kind of fair of her to do. But I do wonder how accurate a judgment it is.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like Flechette or Weld's experience has been like that.
Right. I almost wonder if this is a decision to introduce these characters at this point in the story, where we have Taylor saying, all the heroes are as bad as Sophia and Armsmaster. And like, we've been reading carefully and we sort of know that's not the case. But but here we're getting 2 chapters in a row. Like, actually, here's a hero who doesn't suck. And here's another hero who doesn't suck.
Although there are also heroes who are very young and new-ish to the system.
That's true.
And I don't think it really vindicates the system for them not to have realized the corruption of it yet.
Yeah,
but we don't actually know how corrupt the system is. We just know that Armsmaster sucked, but he did get caught and forcibly retired.
Right.
And Sophia sucks. She might just suck.
Right. But I do feel like it's notable that we're getting, you know, there are some shades of gray, but it's a very off-white gray for these 2 characters, right? We're not getting into not saying that they're not going to have a heel turn.
Vice is.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying I feel like they're presenting to us in this very, you know, positive.
Yeah, their biggest sin is lust so far.
That's true for both of them.
I know.
Sophia has pretty privilege. I'm just going to say it, right? Like, Weld and Flechette are both like, well, at least she's hot. I'm not sure either of them leaves their chapters still thinking well of her. Weld may.
Weld didn't see that much of her.
Yeah.
She wasn't any worse than Clock Blocker.
But yeah, that is funny that it came up in both chapters.
Yes. I hope we just find out that every ward is attracted to women. That's just going to be the theme.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that'll be the theme. Yeah.
I don't know how that works. Vista can be bi. She was so into Gallon.
Exactly. We get the Sophia interlude, and it starts with her looking at herself in the mirror and being like, wow, I'm hot. Thought Sophia.
Right, everyone's just into Sophia.
It's notable. We don't know what Lily looks like at all.
That's true.
Yeah, because we didn't get a mirror moment, and I think she has a costume that covers her up. I feel like Taylor didn't comment on what she looked like. Maybe.
Right, we don't know anything about her face.
Yeah.
It seems like she is relatively small. She's probably pretty thin, but we don't know. And obviously in shape if she's doing this stuff, but we don't know anything about her face or her looks. I do want to just mention this passage because it was so funny, and actually funnier in retrospect now that I know she is probably only into women.
Yeah, this is the bit where I'm like, is she bi? No, she's a lesbian.
Oh yeah, so she's shooting a guy through the jeans to attach him to the wall so he can't get away. She shoots through his sagging jeans. He didn't scream, so clearly he wasn't well endowed enough to get hit anywhere important. Which, what a dig at this guy. Then, Flechette wasn't exactly an expert, or even a novice, in that sort of thing, but she was 99% sure that men didn't dangle nearly to their knees. So this guy has pants that are sagging just down to his knees, so she's making fun of his fashion sense and his endowment.
Yeah.
And I was taking that as like, oh, she's very like, unversed in sex. Turns out that's probably not the case, or potentially not the case.
Yeah. That's so funny. I'm glad you called that out. She's not a dick destroyer. She's not joining the team.
No, that's so true. That's
lawful
what
good.
makes her lawful good. Taylor might be more neutral good.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she's particularly chaotically inclined, but...
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
yeah,
she is not... She's not lawful good.
I did want to touch briefly on the powers stuff.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about Lily's power in the summary, right? She's a striker, so she touches her ammo, and then she makes physics not apply to it. And then she can shoot it so it goes through anything. But like you mentioned, she has this understanding of timing that means that it always hits its mark and loses its kind of, struckness at just the right time to do damage. And I thought it was interesting when she explains that, first, when she gets shot at the beginning of the chapter, she catches a crossbow bolt out of the air before we know that that's part of her power. And she says she has an intuitive understanding of angles, trajectories, and timing she got from her secondary powers, which I thought was an interesting way to phrase that. And then she also talks about how, when she runs up the wall, she's using the metal in her cleats, with her power so they can bite into the surface, and she can become frictionless if she needs to, right? It's more fun, really detailed procedural level justification for why Flechette's like a badass who can Legolas down a chain, right? It's because she has this ability.
Yeah, the chapter really did the work on that.
Yeah, but going back to the striker thing, she strikes her ammo, but then she gets a blaster rating because she shoots things at range, right? Yeah. Which I thought ties back to the conversation we were having last chapter, which made sense. And then we also got some detail about Sophia's breakerness, about how her body doesn't, the laws of physics don't apply to her. And I don't think this term was used in the chapter, but I feel like the way that I've seen it talked about is breakers have a breaker state where it's you kind of switch into your breaker state, and there the rules of physics don't apply to you in the sense of when Sophia's in her shadow form, she can still breathe and stuff, right? She still gets to move normally herself. Hookwolf, I would say, is a changer or a shifter or whatever, but because when he's a metal wolf, he's just he acts on the world the same way that thing would
But
act.
he can still breathe. But I guess he's metal. He doesn't need to breathe.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
no, you're right. That makes sense.
Maybe that doesn't make sense. But I feel like this idea of the breaker state is the thing that I didn't want to talk about last episode. But there's a thing that you get into when you're a breaker. That's what Shadow Stalker is doing. And Flechette even says, when I strike my ammo, I'm sort of breaking the rules as far as that goes.
But she's not doing it to herself, so she's not a breaker. Random thought that I didn't think of last episode episode until it was over. I want to know, and this didn't really occur to us, why does Pigo care about cape acceptance? Like, what is her stake in this? She is not a cape as far as I know. Does she have a family member who's a cape? Did she just get a job in this bureaucracy and she's really committed to her work? Really curious to know if there's any backstory there. I don't think we have any answers at this point. I just wanted to flag that as a question I'm interested in.
I love that observation. I think that's a really good question that I hope we learn the answer to at some point.
Interesting. We probably won't.
Probably not. I did like the 2 pieces of cape tech that we heard about. One of Flechette's teammates is a tinker that created the infinite chain dispenser that she has as part of her grappling hook, which I thought was very cool. It's an example of like tinker tech that can be shared. And then they have these little restraint devices that will send out a ping to get the non-capes to come and clean up the criminals after they're tied up. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about Parian.
Sure.
We got a little bit of backstory about her. She's in fashion school. She was a college student before, the city fell apart. We learned some things about her power, right? The thread that she has that Flechette was like, the tripwire that Flechette springs is made of thread. And so her power is like thread telekinesis. So that's how she knows. But when the gorilla jumps out, it's clear that Parian has to like run so that she can see what's happening before she can effectively use her power.
She doesn't have like thread voyeurism or whatever it is that Taylor has through the bugs. Well, I guess because thread can't see.
Yeah, and
bugs can.
I thought it was so interesting, she says, I hate confrontation. I thought I would have to fight you. I feel edgy. My teeth are chattering. I'm not even cold.
Relatable.
And it's sort of the curse of her power is she has to witness the violence to be effective.
Yeah,
right?
she has to be close.
Yeah, she can't be far away at safety. It reminds me a little bit thematically of Gru's power, where no one else can see him being violent, but he can. He can see everything that's going on. Right. And I loved this beat. This is, again, just it's so cute how they hit it off, right? They're both so willing. They show each other their faces, which is so stupid. Yeah. It's such a dumb thing to do. But it's so nice because they both, it works out for them. They both really needed to, make a friend. And when Parian is she starts to open up and be like, well, it took me so long to get ready for the Leviathan fight. And I didn't feel like I was such a coward. And Flechette's no, you were tough.
You still fought in it.
You fought, right? Bravery is what you do. It's not how you feel while you're doing it, right? And so, they immediately just connect in this very genuine way. And then it's so cute that Flechette's
they get married.
Well, I won't cross your thread, but maybe I'll go on patrol. And if you want to patrol the inside of the thread, we can walk together. It's so sweet. I really, really love
they're going to get married maybe when Flechette's a little bit older. And Parian
hopefully Saba's 19 or 20 and not 22.
Yeah. Well, give him a few years. It's fine. And Parian will tie a thread around Flechette's finger and she'll always know where that thread is. That sounds creepy, but
yeah, no, that's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah. A wedding ring made of thread from your telekinetic wife.
Yes. Yes. And Flechette can embed a tracking device in Saba's hand using her power.
Perfect.
But yeah, just in a fairly grim section of the story, it's really nice to just have two people open up to each other and find a friend. Yeah. And I guess the last thing I'll say is Lily is very much a foil to Taylor in this need for friendship. They're coming at it from such different angles, but this is a chapter about someone who desperately needs a friend and finds one. Yeah. And I feel that's...
She's so much more deliberate about it.
Yeah.
Whereas Taylor's I'm going to go be a hero. Oops, I made friends. Oops, they're villains.
Yeah.
All right, should I do some predicting?
Yeah, well, what's happening next?
Who did I say we're going to get next? Clock Blocker?
That sounds right.
Yeah, we'll see. If we're continuing through this night, it might be more likely to get Kid Win because he's the one who's awake.
That's true.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I was curious, actually, when they were by the crater. I was are they by Coyle's building? Probably close-ish.
Depends on what side of the crater, but for sure.
True.
Yeah.
It's a big crater. He didn't come into it. I still want them to find that speedster.
Right.
It seems like we might just be getting a night or a day or something. So maybe we're not going to get huge happenings. But yeah, I don't think I have a ton of new predictions there.
Well, this might inspire you. Quote, "Welcome to Parahumans 103. Theories."
It's going to be Weld in his college class? No, but it's not going to be Weld. And also it's 103, so it's someone who's taken these classes already. Is it going to be like Clockblocker in class?
I don't know. You're the one predicting.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to say it's Clockblocker in class the next day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Theories...
Theories in metaphysics. I don't know.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe not the same night anymore.
Probably not.
Would be surprising.
Probably not.
But maybe they're night classes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just watching a recorded lecture.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be... I mean, I know Weld was going to the classes, but not him because we already had him. So, yeah. It seems like Clockblocker's old enough to have had 101 and 102 already.
Just for the sake of asking, where's Clockblocker on the alignment chart, do you think, once we get inside his head?
So he was pretty angry in the last chapter.
Yeah.
I think that's the most personality we've seen of him. He is not violent by dint of his power.
He didn't want to be the leader in Interlude 3.
Right.
He got filled with bugs in the bank job.
It's true.
He was a big hero with Bakeda and with Leviathan, though.
That is really true. I would say probably more towards the lawful good or neutral good side of things.
All right. We're hoping for another good guy.
I think he's probably going to be a good guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll find out, maybe.
Next time.
On Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.